Bulk down the entire thing in one shot. So
Right.
you can share this.
It's not, it's not that big. It was,
So we do have a quorum here. Commissioner McCoy will be here, but she's, so whenever you're ready.
Get 1 second here. Here we are.
You're recording?
This is the call to order. This is the Durham Village Commission hearing. Today is July 5th, 2023. It is 4:01 p.m. We're here at 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 204. The next business meeting will be Wednesday, July 19th, 2023 at 12 p.m. here at 111 North Front Street, second room 204. And the next hearing will be Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023 at 4 p.m. here again at 111 North Front Street, second floor, room 204. Go ahead and swear in staff. Do you swear to tell the whole truth? Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name.
Nicole Larson.
Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and introduce the commissioners present, starting on the left over there.
Minerva AJ.
Ned Theo.
Anthony Harkey, Chair.
Charissa Durst. Karen McCoy.
All right. Let's go ahead and move to the approval of staff approvals, which begin on page 6 of your application, of your agenda. Are there any refusals on the staff approvals? All right, hearing no refusals, is there any motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, on staff approvals, I move to ratify.
Second.
Any questions on the motion?
I should recuse from GB 23-07011.
Okay. Any further questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstains? Ayes have it, motion passes. Moving ahead to the minutes from last meeting, June 7th, 2023, was a special meeting held on June 1st, 2023.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions?
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion passes. Before we jump into new business, I want to take a minute to welcome our newest commission member, AJ Minerva. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, moving ahead to new business, I believe we're going to start off with the reading of the bylaw update.
Yes.
I don't think we need to swear them in, do we? We can just.
I was gonna say I have been swearing in at the previous one, so.
Go ahead and do it.
Consistent.
You raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the truth.
I do.
I do. All right. Your name?
Kimberly Bernard Sheehy, Deputy Historic Preservation Officer.
Thank you.
I'm Mark Travillis, the Planning Division Administrator.
Thank you.
All right, since this is the second reading, I'm gonna forego the preamble, read, and then address any comments or questions, and then we can vote if that's all right with everybody. So the German Village bylaws on quorum currently state that 4 members shall constitute a quorum. The affirmative vote of no less than 4 members shall be required for approval. A recommendation of the commission may be made by a majority of those present. Upon presentation to at least a quorum of the commission, the failure of a question to receive the required affirmative vote shall constitute denial of the application or recommendation against the requested action by the commission. The proposed update to the bylaws regarding quorum is as follows. Consistent with Columbus City Code, section 3119.07, the commission shall take official action only by a majority of the members voting on the question on the table during a public meeting at which there is a quorum. A quorum exists when a majority of the members appointed to and serving the commission are present in a meeting. When a quorum is lacking, no business can be acted on other than to adjourn a meeting.
We were having a little discussion last hearing. So understanding what the language states here, we're all on the same page, what we're reading,
Yes.
interpreting. So we have a quorum, we have four. We have one person abstaining from the vote. That still gives us the majority members voting. Is that a correct statement?
Yes.
And if that ends up in a 2-1 with one abstention also, that would still be considered an affirmative vote under this bylaw.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, if something ever did get to a larger project that came down to having 3 people and one abstaining, staff might be suggesting their staff report to continue it until additional commissioners are present.
Understood. Just want to make sure we're all under the same guidance on what we're about to go on.
So this obviously is addressing some concern that you have. Can you tell me what that concern is?
So we're trying to make sure all of the commissions are consistent, as well as get back to Columbus City Code and ensure that the commissions can function when they are at 4 members. We are still actively trying to seat everybody at that, or seat all the commissions at that time, but this is so that the commissions can still operate into their communities.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
What does the motion have to be? That we accept this, approve it, ratify it?
We're looking to ratify.
Accept or ratify, I believe all of the commissions have kind of made up their own wording.
Sure.
So whatever he feels most appropriate.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the German Village Commission bylaw update on quorum as of this date as presented tonight.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Abstentions? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you all for your time, and everybody have a good night.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right, moving ahead to the certificate. Restart that. Applications for certificates of appropriateness. Item 1, GB-23-07-021, 592 South 3rd Street.
Good afternoon. I'm Peter Bennett.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and but the truth.
I do.
And then please state your name for the record.
Peter J. Bennett.
Thank you, sir. Cool.
Yes. This is an exterior build, this is a project for exterior building alteration for a porch replacement. To restore the back porch, ceiling, banisters, handrails, columns, skirtings, and decorative trim with like material of exact same dimension and profile as the original back porch elements, including all decorative details in kind, like for like. To install new 1x3-inch tongue and groove wooden porch flooring, primed on all sides with porch floor enamel prior to installation. Following installation of new wooden flooring, applying no less than 1 complete finish coat of the same exterior porch floor enamel according to manufacturer specifications. To paint the entire porch, Sherwin-Williams iron ore SW7069. The existing concrete steps are to remain in place. To install a new metal roof matching the original metal roof, and to install a new box cutter system and porch roof with new materials of appropriate dimension and profile. Staff analysis is this application is in response to a code violation. The non-original rear porch was demolished due to extensive rain during May and June of 2021. And the porch had extensive rot and was disintegrating and was removed for safety purposes. The application for porch rehabilitation has been heard by the commission as a conceptual application in October of 2021 as GB 21-10-035. And in June of 2022, as GB 22-06-039, and the rear porch was demolished in 2022. At the April business meeting, the commission requested that the section drawing show the porch railing. The application was then withdrawn prior to the April hearing, and the applicant resubmitted for July. The staff recommendation is that staff recommends approval with any all clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to the issuance of a certificate. And the basis for that recommendation is 311611 standards for alteration. 6, German Village Guidelines, porches and stoops 1, 3, 4, and 5.
Anything else to add?
Nothing further.
Questions, comments from the commission?
So is the major difference between the demolished porch and the new one just the sloped ceiling?
No difference, actually. That the ceiling as drawn on that drawing is identical. You just can't see it in the photograph. So there was a sheet metal roof that basically folded in half over the roof.
Sure, so there's a picture right there. You can see where the flashing was.
Right.
I'm thinking of the underside.
On the underside, yeah.
The underside ceiling.
Oh, the underside ceiling's flat.
Yeah. The new one is flat too.
Correct.
Doesn't show in the section.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. But the old
I
ceiling.
think in the cutaway, they're trying to show sort of there was an issue, the porch can't be put back exactly as it was simply because it's so far out of code. There was very little actually hanging the porch onto the building. So I think that is showing sort of the cutaway as well as there's definitely supposed to be a ceiling there. I think maybe that dotted line that goes across there,
It's top of columns.
well, it runs in front of the transom, which there would be no purpose for anything over there if the ceiling's not there.
That bottom picture on that page right there shows what the ceiling should be when it goes back.
Absolutely.
You're running across the lintel, basically.
Yeah, it's level with the top of the beam around up.
Yes, yeah, it was actually, yeah, it's not original, it was over them blocking it.
So what would the material of that ceiling be then? Beadboard?
That's what my assumption is, that's what's on the front porch.
Okay. Take a motion. So we need to modify your application that I would suggest the ceiling be above the door lintel. And that the ceiling materials to match the material of the front porch. That's acceptable for the other commissioners.
So you want the ceiling higher than the original?
Um,
I
I
put
think
it
that
to
would
match.
be, that would match it.
Oh, the lentil's the stone, correct?
yep,
All right, so the stone is hidden there, all you can
It
see
is
is the
hidden.
glass.
Basically, the bottom of the lintel is where the ceiling touches.
well,
Yeah.
you look at his section. And
You can see,
if the ceiling is at the bearing point of the beams. It's above the lintel.
But if you look at the photo, of course, it's a new one that's going back.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
the original
the
ceiling.
ceiling is way above, but it still doesn't clear the lintel. So
Yeah.
something's wrong. I mean, it's a good foot above the top of the columns and it's still not clearing the ceiling. We're in the section. It should be.
and if the section's drawn correctly, it's possible to do that.
Yep. So, not sure.
Well, if we made a motion to follow the section drawing with the addition of the ceiling, the beadboard ceiling, while being above the stone lintel, then that would solve.
Yeah, I would say the ceiling should be level with the rafter bearing.
One thing real quick. So, I can have staff walk through something on the photos with me. So on page 3, the bottom picture. Zoom in the bottom picture. You end up with the ceiling itself runs up to the brick wall on the right side of the picture. You kind of got that bulkhead soffit, for lack of a better term, that runs around the perimeter. If you go to the next page, 2 more pages, sorry, so big. Then zoom in on the picture to the left. The silhouette left is showing that basically. Your roof is sloped up top, your ceiling's touching right there at that point. I think that's the condition of being. Yeah, it's that picture right there.
Yeah, you can see the ceiling line.
That's
the
the
low
elevation.
to
That shadow is what we should be following.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I was trying to get the architects to do. I don't know that they accomplished that goal.
But that,
I mean,
You know,
that covers the lintel.
I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't think, there's no dimension on that. What is it, 2 by, remember, that's the gutter? I don't think that's the same height as what it was original. Maybe it is, I don't. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think that something's wrong.
I agree.
I think the 2 by header should probably be top of the header, probably closer to where the current top of columns elevation is on the section. And that's the ceiling line, basically.
Mhm.
I think it's just the height of the columns needs to be dropped a bit.
And that fascia board needs to be increased in height.
Would you be comfortable, any pushback from the commission on having the motion state to follow the shadow line of the building? If there's a discrepancy between the height shown here and the shadow line?
I have no problem with that saying that, but I'm not sure there are other implications that just following that's gonna solve this detail that we've got here. I agree with that's the place to start. I just don't know how that's gonna turn out, and I don't know whether it's gonna be interpreted correctly by the architect.
Would the commission like to consider a subcommittee for this proposal to continue the review?
I'd be okay with that. I'd like to be on that committee.
Sure.
I'll be on the committee as well. Be a third or 2 good enough. I think 2 is good enough.
3 makes it which is a 12 meeting.
Okay, just the 2 of us then. Everybody else okay with that?
Sure. So after that item, we're gonna ask you to revise your drawings and get them back to us to match. what
I want
was
to,
there.
no, I'm not.
Yeah, okay, get it, yeah. I think, I don't think he followed exactly what or he or she did not
Yeah.
follow exactly what the profile was.
I agree. And this is the 4th type shot at it, so.
Okay,
Okay,
all right,
thank you very much.
move to continue?
You do with the subcommittee, I'm being told you vote for approval with the conditions, with the condition being that the subcommittee will review those.
Okay.
Okay.
So an item,
And the committee is saying we're trying to get it back the way it was, covering the stone,
yeah, exactly where it was.
exactly what it was, okay.
An item GV 2307-021, 592 South Third Street, I move to approve with the condition that revisions be made to indicate or get the porch to match the existing, previous existing porch, and reviewed by committee of, Chairman Harkey and, whatever my title is, Theo.
Yeah. Vice Chair.
Vice Chair? Vice Chair, okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstentions?
Aye.
Ayes have, the motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving ahead to item number 2, GV-23-05-030, uppercase Charlie, lowercase Bravo. 76 East Casa and 804 City Park. And once you're settled, will you please raise your right hand.
Sure,
You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And please state your name for the record.
Kevin Reiner.
Thank you. Cool.
This is a, application for landscaping and hardscaping. The proposed work description is for landscaping to install and stain a 6-foot tall privacy fence with one 4-foot wide gate and one double gate. All fencing to be stained to match the house color. And to install a boxwood, smooth hydrangea, dwarf panicle hydrangea, shrub rose, sweet autumn clematis, climbing rose, English ivy, and variegated, and I apologize for my pronunciation of the plant here, lirio plants and bushes per submitted landscape plan. Hardscaping, and including hardscaping to install a new in-ground pool that's 14 feet by 20 feet with an automated pool cover, and the pool surround area to be concrete with buff wash. To install a new concrete with buff wash patios per submitted site plan, and the steps 76 East Casa Street to be Indiana limestone. To install 2 uplights, they're the Encore BL25 6-watt bulb. To install 13 path lights, the Encore WL103 ILOD well light with 4-watt bulbs at 4 at 804 City Park and 9 at 76 Casa Street. To install 3 exterior receptacles, to install retaining walls to be approximately 6 feet high, approximately a 6-foot high masonry wall and a 3-foot deep footer with rock-based limestone veneer and a 14-foot deep limestone cap with an 1/8-inch pencil edge. Paper parking area and patio area with overfilled city stone in square and storm color to be installed over a compacted gravel base. Staff analysis is that at the March 2023 hearing, the commission voted to approve the new door openings on 804 City Park Avenue addition. The commission supported the design, but the condition that the AC unit be moved to the rear corner of the garage. And a COA has not been issued for that, but has been issued for a subsequent project that's not on staff report here. At the May hearing, the commission recommended the proposed parking variances, and then continued, actually, I apologize, continued the proposed parking variances in the 6-foot tall privacy fence along Scotland Street. The commission also requested a drawing of the proposed retaining wall and details on the material of the wall and steps. The commission also requested a drawing indicating where the, and now the paint is not a part of this application, so I do apologize for that being in step here. At the June hearing, the commission split the application to GB 23-05-03C30C A, which was recommended variances, and GB 23-05-030C B for landscaping that was continued, and that's the application we have here today. The following is taken from the now approved June 7th, 2023 GBC hearing minutes that was held as a special meeting on June 21st, 2023. Commissioner comments. The commission responded to the applicant request that they continue the hardscaping for the July hearing and focus on recommending the proposed variances. Staff recommendation is that staff recommends approval with any all clarifications to be submitted to HBO staff for review and approval prior to the issuance of a certificate. The basis for the staff recommendation is 311613, standards for site improvements A, German Village Guidelines for fences and walls, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And German Village Guidelines for site lighting, street furniture, pools, fountains, and gazebos, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6.
Anything else to add?
No, I thought I heard her say 6-foot masonry wall in the beginning.
Has that been removed from the design?
Yeah, there's no
Okay,
6-foot masonry wall.
okay.
There's like a 16 to 18-inch masonry wall. So maybe the,
18-inch masonry wall, retaining wall with
Yeah.
stone veneer
right,
and a 6-foot privacy fence.
right.
Okay, thank you for
Yeah.
that clarification.
Sure. That's all.
Questions, comments from the commission?
Yeah, I had a question regarding the new stone retaining wall. It looks like it's a block core on a board foundation, but I was trying to understand the veneer. Is that a thin, very thin stone that's being applied? Or-
It's about 2 inches, so an inch and a quarter, so it's a veneer.
And it's a real stone,
It's a real
not a
stone.
synthetic?
Correct, yeah.
Then a limestone cap on top.
Right, so we're trying to match all the steps adjacent property.
Because it looks like the stone wall detail is the existing one on the city park property is different, that it didn't have a cap.
Correct. It did not on City Park. Yeah.
And it doesn't really bother me that it's a different type of wall. I just kind of wanted to understand the veneer on it.
Yeah, on City Park, there's a lot of natural looking stone, not necessarily limestone, but it's, I think there's like 2 or 3 types facing City Park. And so we didn't change any of that, we just left it. And then here, the goal was to be consistent with some of the steps that are existing on City Park and just sort of carry that theme. And really was the color, trying to make the wall look more substantial and like a real masonry wall.
Okay. When I looked at that pattern, the one thing I was concerned about, if it's a 16-inch wall,
Yeah.
like how many courses of that stone do you actually get? Because I don't know what the dimensions.
The dimensions
of
are.
Stone are, but.
We're shooting for 3 or 3.5
Okay.
courses, so very minimal in terms of courses, just so it doesn't feel busy.
So you've used that before on a low wall and it.
Correct.
In the site plan, can you show us where the fence is at?
Can I show you where the
The
fence?
fence, yeah, I mean,
The wood fence? the
Yeah.
fence,
I mean,
So we put it behind the first window.
on the
as
east
requested.
property,
On the east property, yeah.
and then it jogs to miss the one on the west property?
Correct. We didn't want it to go into a window.
Right.
For aesthetic reasons, so we moved it further back
Got it,
and
okay.
just added some greenery, so that way from Kasuth, it just looks even softer. So
Okay. My only suggestion is, can you back it off the window a couple inches on the east side?
east side.
You're right against the window
Yeah,
trim.
in your section, it's like touching.
Yeah, we can move it back a few inches.
Give us 6 inches.
There's a gas light, which, but we've got room. Yeah. we can
Okay,
move it
that'd be
back.
great.
Yeah.
That give the window some breathing room.
Yeah.
I'll make 2 comments. One is that we typically don't allow 6-foot fences front yard from, just say, typically we have 6 feet from the public way, but this is set back 15 feet almost from the sidewalk. So I think that mitigates the planting in front of it, softens it.
Okay.
My second comment, it won't hold the vote here, but right now the plan is showing the 76 piece Casa AC unit on the property of 804 City Park.
Say that again, the last part.
The AC unit for
Oh.
76 East Casa is currently shown on the property, across property line on 804 City Park. To me, it's not a big deal, but I'm not sure when it comes down to in the future, if this property ever sells, I'm not sure you're allowed to have the condenser on the adjacent property.
Okay.
And that kind of goes back to not combining the lots, that decision that was made, so,
Okay.
Not a fix though.
yeah, so I'm not gonna hold, it's not gonna hold my vote, I just want to put it out there for the applicant. Like a
Yeah,
code
we
issue.
talked about putting it in the back over here. Then we also, meaning behind 76.
So just out of curiosity, are you running a conduit underneath all the parking?
We
For
would
the-
run it most likely closer to the pool area, but along that edge.
Yeah,
where-
okay, for the
where
compressor
cables
set,
are,
okay, yeah.
with the polymeric sand, so it could be pulled up. That was the goal.
Just curious.
To me, I don't care where it goes, it's all behind us, the fence now, so
Yeah.
it's the applicant's issue, but
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
maybe a code issue, I'm not sure.
Is there any chance that the 4-foot wide walkway, which is on the public side or public view side of the wood fence, could be limestone to match the steps as opposed to the concrete paver?
Concrete paver. I say yes. I mean, I like that look too. We were just trying to make it all more porous, based on the last request. And that was really just the patio areas. And I think we just extended it out just to keep that look.
But you could lay limestone
But we
the
can
same
lay
way.
limestone, yeah.
Karen, what are you talking about, Karen? Just,
That path.
That path that goes, there's stairs and
Yeah.
there's a 4-foot wide path that goes up to the gate.
gotcha, okay.
So that would be limestone to match the stairs instead of that dark paver.
Gotcha.
Typically.
Just trying to
those
just
walls
get
would be
sure. talking about, okay.
It'd typically be brick, but I think
Yeah.
to Karen's point, the limestone would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And should that be dry laid or can we have it with mortar joints like the steps? Because that would be more consistent with the steps. I think if it's mortar.
Yeah, we would typically ask for dry, just laid on an aggregate setting bed.
Okay. Like the papers. Okay.
My stance is you're, at that point, it's such a short area.
Yeah.
Planting on both sides. is gonna
That's
go in the
true.
plant.
I mean, yeah, if you're pouring the concrete and
So it is okay to have it? With-
set on concrete.
Yeah,
That path, I think, so.
okay. And with mortar joints or you'd want just polymeric sand?
I think if you're setting it on concrete,
Just, yeah. Okay. Would agree. Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, item 03, GV 2306043. I am sorry. I'm on the wrong one. GV 23050303C -76 Casa and 804 City Park Avenue. I move to approve as modified, moving the fence approximately 6 inches back from the west window on the east building, west elevation, and modifying the pavement from the steps up to the parking pad and modifying that to limestone on a mortar bed with mortar streets. All right.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's maybe one clarification that the application number has a lowercase b at the end of it.
Very good.
No questions on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstains? Ayes have it, motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving ahead to item number 3, GB 23-06-043, 251 Jackson Street. Once you're all settled, please raise your hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I did.
Please state your name for the record.
Scott helping.
Need an exterior building alteration to install awnings. To install fabric awnings on the upper west and south facing windows in the doorway of the home. The awnings to be a solid black fabric awning. At the June business meeting, the commission suggested the application be moved to a request for action rather than a conceptual application. And the commission indicated that for it to be a request for action, the applicant should submit a photo indicating which windows will receive awnings, specification information for the proposed awning, and suggested the awning be seasonal. At the June hearing, the commission continued the application due to the applicant's absence. The staff recommendation is that staff recommends approval with any all clarifications be submitted to HBO staff prior to the issuance certificate with the following conditions. The staff recommended condition is the applicant to submit drawings from the awning manufacturer and material information for review and approval by HBO staff prior to the issuance of a certificate. The basis for staff recommendation is 311613, standards for site improvements A, German Village guidelines for awnings on page 100, and 1, 2, and 3, and 311611, standards for alteration 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, and 11.
Anything else to add?
Excellent. These are not rigid frame awnings, right?
When you say rigid frame awnings,
They've got the bottom at the hem is metal, and then there's metal that goes back up to the slope of the awning.
no, these would be, no.
These are the loose ones?
Yeah.
Okay, which is what most of your examples are, okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Are these going to be seasonal?
What would be the distinction, I guess? Sure.
Take them down in the fall and put them back up in the spring.
So they would, so removable is what I'm hearing there, or?
That you actually take them down for the winter?
And store.
Or do you tend to leave them up year round?
It's to prevent sun, so it's our baby's room. It's to prevent sun from coming in if the room gets warm. So our intent would be to use them so long as the sun. It's a west facing vault, so we can.
Which is seasonal,
Yeah.
because when it gets colder outside, you want the sun coming in.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
I'm not willing to pre-commit under oath. When I will or will not remove these. I can tell you that my intent is to use them so long as they provide utility to my family.
I have no problem with them being seasonal, that's up to you. One of your examples, they take them down in the winter, so they get the winter sun.
Gotcha. Understood.
Will this type of frame support slow snow or any kind of, is that part of the reason that they were seasonally taken down?
No, just so you can get sunshine in and
Just,
in the winter.
okay.
It gets pretty, I mean, in the winter, it gets very warm there with the sun, the greenhouse kind of thing.
So I would say that our intent is not to tell you specific dates to take them down.
That's right.
So would you like to amend your application for them to be seasonal?
You're covered.
That's fine. That's fine.
On item GB 2306-043-251 Jackson Street, I move to approve as modified that they will not be rigid awnings and and clarify that they are seasonal, as needed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions on the motion?
Does the commission want to condition that the new not new drawings, but drawings are submitted to staff?
I don't think that's necessary. I assume you're going through Cap City.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah,
we're happy to. We haven't gone through the
yeah.
vendor selection like precise. We haven't shopped yet, right? Because we wanted to know that this was even doable.
Yeah.
Before we,
I would say the final one's just send to staff.
that's fine. Happy to do that.
Yeah.
Happy to do that. No problem.
You won't get drawings.
just product information.
Yeah,
Cut sheet or product information.
yeah, you won't get drawings.
The key is anything needs to be attached to the house, just needs to go through the mortar joint, not the brick.
Yeah, or some of these are on wood, so that.
They're all in wood. They're all in wood. It's just the second story upstairs.
Just,
So we've got a motion, we got a second. Any other questions? All those in favor? Against? Abstains? Ayes have it, motion passes.
whoever your vendor is,
Yes.
make sure it's absolutely clear with them exactly what you're buying.
Yes.
That's experience talking to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, moving ahead to item number 4, GB-23-07-022, 712 Mohawk Street. Once you're settled, raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And
Yes.
Please state your name for the record.
Candy Greenblatt, also known as Mary Candace Greenblatt.
Thank you.
This is an exterior building alteration. Proposed work description is for an arbor or trellis. This application is the result of a code violation. The code violation number is 23444-00030. And it's to install a black metal arbor on the front west elevation. The black metal arbor is custom made by Fortins and attached to the frame addition via brackets. The staff analysis is the application is the result of a code violation. The applicant has provided information on the history of the trellis/arbor. HPO staff finds the trellis does not meet the Durham Village guidelines for site lining, street furniture, pools, fountains, and gazebos, recommendation 5. And Durham Village guidelines for ornamentation, trim, brackets, hood mold, shutters, light fixture, recommendation 2. Staff recommends to continue the application to allow applicant time to amend the design to better align with the Durham Village guidelines and city code. The basis for that staff recommendation is 311611, 3910 11, 11 and 12. 311613, standards for site improvements A. Durham Village guidelines for site lighting, street furniture, pools, fountains, and gazebos 5, and Durham Village guidelines for ornamentation, trim, brackets, hood molds, shutters, and light fixtures 2.
Wow.
Anything else to add?
Pardon?
Anything else to add?
Only what I've told you already.
Okay.
But the reason why, I came up with this particular design is because of the negative space, above the window. And I'm an artist, I'm a designer, and to do an awning just wasn't good enough. And I honestly didn't think that a trellis would be an issue, but apparently it is. And I can see that. My hope is, I mean, I saw nothing offensive in, because you've got to think ahead of this wisteria growing up and hopefully looking lovely. But I've run into a little bit of passion trouble.
It's been up for a while, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
although because I live in Florida part-time, so I did ask if we could put it off till I got back.
But I mean, the trellis has been up for a while, because I walked by. Okay. I don't know how this got on our agenda. That's my opinion. To me, it's art. It's art. It has nothing to do with the guidelines. If I wanted to put a statue in front of my front yard, I could get away with it. Oh, no, that's not the right term.
And it's not a masonry building.
It's not a masonry building, and this is an addition.
It's an addition, it's not.
It's an addition to the building, so I have absolutely no problem with this.
I think it's really nice.
Me too, I love it, so.
Yeah, I think it's a good solution. The only thing I would worry about is that putting wisteria on it. It looks, because it's iron, that it's going to be strong enough, because wisteria, it becomes a very heavy vine. But you will get a lot of that hanging over your window, because wisteria will hang down. So I just want.
That particular window happens to be a master bath
Oh, so
on the first floor, so I don't see that as an issue. I had the people that planted it, I asked them to find me because we started off with a climbing rose, which I discovered roses don't climb on their own. You have to make them, as opposed to something like a wisteria. Does the commission have a alternative plant?
if it wasn't west facing, I'd say climbing hydrangea, but I think it's gonna get too much. sun.
It bakes.
Yeah,
In that area, it just bakes. Well, the wisteria has grown more. That picture is,
I think you're probably fine. I just wanted you to know that, it's gonna be crowning your window with wisteria wood.
okay.
So it sounds like you have the votes on the commission. I'll just say, for the commission's discussion, I'll say that we have voted in the near recent past on some trellis work on the side of a building. That was an actual brick.
That was
Building?
existing,
Yeah, yeah.
historic is contributing building.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're all putting out in the record of what the
Right.
reasons why it's okay in this situation, being it's a siding, not brick. It's not the historic structure. It's the addition to a modern addition. I'm not a fan of climbing vines on houses, but I'm not going to be the deciding vote, I don't think. So just want to make sure that we had that conversation for the record. So with that said, is there a motion?
Yeah, sure. On item 04 GB 23070227 712 Mohawk Street, I move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Aye. Abstentions? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving ahead to item number 5, GB-23-07-023, 291 East Livingston Avenue. When you're settled, you please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
And please state your name for the record.
My name is Oliver Holtzberry.
Thank you. Cool.
This is a request for action for signage. There are two signs, to install one non-illuminated projecting sign on the west elevation. The sign measures 8.33 square feet, is 30 inches by 40 inches. It's attached by 2 inch by 2 inch by 1/8 inch wall aluminum tube welded to a 1/4 inch thick aluminum mounting plates. The sign faces 1 by 1 inch aluminum tubing adhered flat with a 0.063 aluminum bases. All surfaces painted black and all graphics are cut white vinyl. The sign is mounted to the wall with 8 1/4 inch by 3 inch long masonry screws painted black. The second sign is to install one non-illuminated wall sign on the west elevation. Sign measuring 36 inches by 60 inches. The sign panel to be flat black ACM with cut white vinyl graphics. And the sign is mounted flush to the brick wall with 6 1-inch diameter brushed aluminum pucks. The staff analysis, there was no July business meeting for feedback to the applicant. The signage is above the 8 square foot limit for blade signs. However, HPO staff does support the slightly larger sign. The staff recommendation is that staff recommends approval with any all clarifications to be submitted to HPO staff for review and approval prior to the issuance of the certificate with the following conditions. And the staff recommended condition is that all signs are attached via mortar joints and not the brick face. The basis for staff recommendation is 311613 Standards for Site Improvement C, the German Village Guidelines, Design Considerations, the Guidelines for Graphics and Signage. And that's just all of the guidelines there.
Anything else to add?
I would just add that there's no signage there currently, and the purpose for this was that they were having trouble finding the place. So trying to add one out front there on Livingston, and then right by where the back parking is to kind of let people know how to find the business.
Questions, comments from the commission?
So we've only allowed one sign per building. It's been a rule. Only one exception I can think of, that was on Whittier. Probably for a real time, except, just you may remember. So plain, we allowed the sign in the front, but we allowed a small sign in the back because of the parking issue, because they shared a parking lot. And number two, most of our signs have been, 6 square feet, and they've been blade signs that are hung, but not supported by 2 bars.
I think what I take issue with the most on this is, I mean, A, size is one question, but the reasoning for the second sign that's on the side of the building is to help find parking. It's larger than the primary sign, which seems to be counterintuitive. I mean,
That sign could actually be down at the entrance to a small sign could be down on a post
it's a 3-foot.
at the entrance to the parking lot, not on the building.
That could be done easily on the, I think it's a brick wall right there. You can put something down there. You can put something by the entrance to the drive.
But something small.
Yeah, because the entrance is kind of the alleyway where you enter into the parking spaces there.
It's got a post, you got one of our brick piers.
To me, a sign in the building there pointing back that way versus a sign at the alley, I don't think that makes that much
But by the
difference.
time you see that secondary sign, you've already turned the corner
Right.
and you're looking for parking
Key is to get around
to
it.
get around that corner back.
So I think for the commission, first step is the front side, the blade sign. Questions, comments on the blade sign?
Well, I agree, our typical standard is 1 bar, so there's just minimal damage on the building.
Yeah.
And then they
Six.
tend to be smaller because it's only supported by 1 bar.
And 6 square feet, I think is our one.
And let's see if the staff report has it. I think the key statement that we have, especially on Livingston, a lot of folks that come looking for signage on Livingston claim automobiles, you want to see it from driving. We had the same conversation further down past Grant. There's the hangar looking sign, like an actual clothes hanger. And the guidelines specifically state that it's a pedestrian orientation, even though it's on a street that cars travel. The guidelines state pedestrian orientation, which would be the blade sign is what gives that ability to see it as you're coming perpendicular to the building, which is what's driving that. So to me, it's the size of the blade sign. It's the two bars versus one bar. On the side, it's just the size.
Size not on the building. I don't
What's
think it's
the-
on the building.
I heard the 8 square feet. I was under the impression that it was 12 square feet or under, but I think we're at like 8.33 right now.
6.
6.
For clarification, 12 square feet is for the short form design guidelines, so that doesn't apply to the German Village.
Correct.
Okay.
We're more reserved and conservative in the village than they are in Chilton.
So I would say if there's an opportunity for the applicant to reduce the signage to 6 square feet with one bar attachment, I think there's the votes on the commission to get that. Is that something you'd like to do, or do you want us to vote?
I think that's something we could probably make happen. So 1 bar and just reduce it to 6 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shaving off a couple inches on the width and a couple on the height, to kind of shrink it all down a little bit.
I'm not comfortable with voting on this because I don't know what's going to be on the sign when he shrinks it down.
Okay. As far as the side building signage, thoughts from the commission? Anybody in favor of having a second sign in general speak?
I mean, we had the situation with Starbucks, the street, and, you know, they have their blade sign, but the entrance to their parking is significantly west of the building, and they have a very small sign on the
Mhm.
brick pillar,
Pillar.
brick column.
Yep.
I think I've heard lots of people comment that it's hard to see, and they miss it the first time they're going there, and then once they go, they know where they're going, but.
I've had a similar experience going to that Starbucks too, especially when there were a lot of construction a couple of years ago. I had to go back around a couple of times. To find
Yeah,
ones.
because it comes up on you so quickly.
I think one of the other issues that play on some of the side signage, if we go back to the guidelines, I read in there is a statement of what should be on the sign. See it here.
Is the purpose of the second sign just to direct people to parking?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because even when I went to meet out there, I went to the wrong place as well.
So the line from the guidelines that I'm reading is, signs and graphics containing the name and function of the business. Only name and function of the business. And now we're putting address, name, function, and parking direction. I'm okay having a parking direction separately on the pillars, but not on the building signage itself.
As far as the address goes, the building is addressed right by the sign,
Up in the corner,
up at the corner.
both faces.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be opposed to something, if there was something discreet in the back that was parking for 291.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that just had the building
Mhm.
address.
It wouldn't be business oriented, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, you'll generally have like that, in a lot of cases on those walls, you'll have the parking for the tenant only and the tow sign and everything else that gets put on all those lots. So I would almost rather see a nice discreet black sign that says, parking rather than those white ones with the red letters that get put up everywhere.
Would this be on the building or be on the pillars
It could be
or somewhere back again?
somewhere back, yeah.
Actually, on the inside of the buildings. You wouldn't even see it from the street.
So at the corner pillar or on the wall, the brick wall at the back of the building?
I don't think on the building's appropriate.
Well, no, see how there's a brick wall?
Oh, I
into
give
the
the wall,
brick?
I'd say the last pillar.
The last pillar is going to be more directional to how to get into the parking lot, so. Seems reasonable. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound like the side signage is approvable. And it doesn't sound like folks are willing to approve the front sign without seeing the revised design. We can continue the application if you'd like. It keeps you on the agenda for next month. If you want to come back with the revised front signage, and then maybe a revised different kind of signage for along the side street. Or is there more information you'd want to talk about now for that side street?
I think we could get to the 6 square feet in the one bar for the sign out front. And I'd be willing to make some changes here. I don't know if we could do something where I could resubmit the drawings as mentioned and it would be something that'd be staff approval or.
I'm not sure we can get to a second sign as being staff approvable.
On the side sign.
Definitely not on the side sign. Front sign's a stretch for staff approval.
And is it the size and the business names on there?
It's the size. Typically, we don't allow 2 signs on a structure.
Okay.
So that's kind of the first hurdle we get past. And the second is the size.
Mhm.
And then it comes down to, if we can get that on the building, do we have directional signs on the building as well? It's kind of a three-prong issue to get through.
Okay.
And it doesn't sound like having the sign on the building in the first place. The second sign is acceptable.
Okay. Do you think it's worth us trying to revise that sign to try to get something approved, even if it just had parking in the rear, or do you think we should just try to eliminate it?
I think what we've heard is having a second sign parking in the rear, putting that along the brick fence line. I think you probably get some agreement for that. But to put that up on the building, I think that's kind of where the struggle is.
Okay. Okay.
I have the example of Starbucks on Livingston, so. An exception we made, but it's worth you looking at that.
All right. Well, I think I'd probably just like to table then if we can, and I can resubmit some designs.
We can continue, and I'll keep you on the agenda for next month. All right, sure. All right. Is there a motion?
Yeah. And I don't have the number. GV 2307-023, 291 East Livingston Street. I move to continue.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? Ayes have it, motion passes.
All right. Thank you.
Do you remember that one on Whittier Tourism?
Really, for the same reason.
Yeah. Big discussion. Yeah, okay.
We've had item number 6, GV-23-07-024, 332 East Sycamore. The applicant for 332 East Sycamore.
The applicant did say they might not attend, so that might be.
We just put this on the list to come back to before the end of the meeting. All right, we'll jump ahead to item number 7, GV-23-07-025, 882 South 3rd Street. Once you're settled, you raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
And please state your name for the record.
Roger Farrell.
Thank you. Cool.
This is a request for action for an exterior building alteration. Proposed work description is for rear outbuilding siding. Is to consolidate wood siding that's in good condition to the front, west elevation and north elevation, west of the man door. To replace the siding, east of the man door on the north elevation and east elevation with Worrell true exterior Cove Dutch lap, 1x6 siding, not visible from the public right of way. And to replace west facing window sills and north facing window sills with 1.5 inch thick Worrell true exterior sills. To replace the man door sill with a 1.5 inch thick white oak sill. To replace the rotted corner boards with Worrell true exterior boards matching the size of the existing. And no work is proposed for the south elevation, which has insul brick covering the wood siding. Staff analysis, there was no July business meeting and no preliminary feedback for the applicant. Staff recommendation is that staff recommends approval with any and all clarifications to be submitted to HBO staff for review and approval prior to the issuance of certificate. The basis for staff recommendation is 311611 standards for alteration 1, 2, 6, 10, 11, and 12. And German Village guidelines, the 2005 amendments for our siding.
Anything else to add? Questions from the commission?
Glad to answer any questions.
We'd like to ask a couple clarifying questions just to make sure we're looking at the right stuff. So if we can go to page number 3. 4, sorry. This elevation, this
is the north elevation.
North elevation? So the intent is to take the good siding and move it to the left side of the door?
No, to the right side of the door, which is towards the street.
Okay.
This house is on the east side of Third, facing west.
Correct.
So this would be the east elevation.
No, that's the north elevation. That's the side. It's facing north.
It's the side.
The street facing side has a pitched roof.
Yeah. Yep. And this addition is the full width of the back.
The side with the big windows facing north.
Okay, yep.
So the
Alright.
elevation would be part wood and part Worrell.
Yes.
Not visible from the right away.
So, yeah.
Is the intent to save that wood just for material savings, or is it trying to maintain some historic?
The idea was to try to maintain the historic siding on that kind of that front corner, if you will.
Mhm.
And to the left of that, which is towards the rear, is severely deteriorated, as you can see.
Sure. I'll make a note from a contractor perspective, where the fence is coming up against that siding. The fact there's no gap there between the fence and the siding is leading to a lot of that rot. You can't get the airflow through there. Recommend holding that fence back a little bit when you do the work.
Okay.
Get that splash off in the rain, just gets wet and doesn't dry.
Noted. Thank you.
I cannot figure this out.
That's the street. That's the side that faces the street. That's well, it was up there.
So that's the street side. You can go back up to page number 7.
Yes, that's facing the street.
Okay.
So the man door is on the left side of that view.
That's correct.
And how old is this?
I don't know. I think it's pretty old because it's a frame building with the brick infill. I think it's pretty old. I looked on the Sanborn maps. I couldn't find anything. I tried to determine how old it was. But based on the construction method, I'd say it's early.
I'm okay with the approach.
We don't want to borrow on historic buildings.
That is. This isn't exactly an outbuilding, it's attached. Yeah.
Attached.
No, it's not attached, it's freestanding.
Is it?
Yes, it's a freestanding outbuilding.
Oh, so the infill brick is facing the main building.
The inside brick is facing the neighbor. It's real close. It may look like it's attached, but it's not. The inside brick is on the south side. Very close to the neighboring building.
This is the building right next to the brick building on the corner, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the building it's close to is not your building, it's the neighbor's building.
Correct. It's the building. That's Whittier. It's facing Whittier. It's the back of the building in Whittier.
Staff can go back to the street view, aerial view, yeah. So it's that building in the bottom corner, correct? What we're looking at right now is this the structure?
Yes.
That's the structure we're talking about. Correct. This is the house. This is the view from the street. That's the structure that they're putting inside.
No, my God, okay.
That's what's locked.
It does. Yeah, it's like
Picture, sure to, yeah.
Yeah.
Number one, something in this application has got to make that clear. Absolutely.
Can we get staff just take a screenshot of that and point that this is the building we're talking about, put that in the application documentation?
Sure, we can use that and stamp that. With the.
So the fact is it a historic contributing building? And we don't allow borrow on that.
Have we not allowed borrow on existing garages? The re-sided garages?
New ones. Ones that weren't considered contributing, we did nickel gap on a garage on Mohawk. To upgrade the aesthetic.
Maybe the house, the house on Cedar Alley is,
Is it borrow?
Cedar and Burger, that's
Yeah.
Borough. And that was house.
Yeah. I don't remember that, but
Building, I'm pretty sure it's Borough on the house.
Oh, don't we have Laurel on historic buildings as a case study?
that's the only thing I can think of.
Yes, I don't know if I'm right now, I feel like I'm not sorted. Yeah. Yeah, I think in some cases.
For the record, I will say yes.
Yeah.
So, I think the issue we have right now is we've got, so Boral has been a test case for on original structures, residing with that. We haven't got any test cases to conclusion to make say a ruling on allowing Boral on historic structures. We have Boral on new builds and additions and that kind of stuff. So with this being what we're assuming is an original structure or a very old structure, that's a hurdle we have to get across.
The commercially available siding is southern yellow pine. It does not have good natural rot resistance. The dimension is 5.5 with including the tons and grooves. This siding is 5.5 on the face, so we can't tooth that into this. In addition, you can see how close to the ground it is. It's going to get splashed back and snow buildup, and just feel like if we use wood again, it's going to fail. That's really our reasoning on using the Boral. Plus, it's not visible from any public right of way. What is visible will be the historic wood.
Still don't get me.
I think it's odd to split a facade into materials. I understand the reasoning for it.
It is a little bit odd, but the door is so tall that it kind of gives a natural breaking
Yeah.
point.
I saw that, it goes to the roof.
The only way you'll see that back portion is if you're in the yard.
Well, or the other thing that you could do is you could, I mean, if you're gonna do the burrell, do it on the entire facade.
Yeah.
Corner board over,
Yeah.
rather than two different
Yeah.
materials.
You allow it on one part, you gotta allow it on all of it.
Do we know if any of those, might just to swear you in?
Maybe it's like, can we do that midway through
Let's
meeting?
let's go ahead and swear you in.
Okay.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the truth?
Yes, I do. Morgan Graff.
Thank you. See, any of these oral test cases that we have on the principal structures, are any of them due for the final 1 year review?
That I'm not sure of. I know there has been approval, but I'm not sure if they actually have been installed as of yet to be at that point. There might have been some more approved test cases before I started as staff. I will say, since I was processing this application, the one on Beck Street, we did approve as an artificial siding. But then that situation, it was to install over the original siding for it to be removed for restoration at a later date. But that was approved for the artificial on Beck Street. I can't remember the address specifically.
I think it might be 370 or 376.
Yeah, it's a duplex.
Yeah, it was a duplex. But that one was approved for artificial siding at that time. I can't remember if it was Boral or Hardy though. I can't recall.
I mean, we resided a Holley house behind Fifth, I think it was either 2 or 3 years ago. James Goodman did a site visit and with the staff at the time, it was determined that the existing historic siding was beyond reasonable repair. It was approved to replace it.
You know what the house that was?
I can't even remember the name of the alley. It's the one right to the west of Fifth Street.
Maybe.
Yeah, it was like 700 something, the 700s Macon Alley.
And if I may add another detail, I believe the Boral was for a specific siding. I can't remember if it was a board or batten. It was the application more on some of those test cases. It was a border batten or a clapboard for that material, since we haven't seen it before. I believe it.
I agree, you've got a lot of issues. And I agree, I think more and more, conservation's an issue, restoration's an issue. I would like some verification that the siding of this is all shot. Obviously, it's shot in places. To get you to the point where you could get rid of all of it.
Well, I think the west elevation, other than the bottom, is okay. I mean,
That's fine.
I think the bottom course.
That's fine. But I think the other thing is you need
the
to
rear
figure out a
part-
way of,
I'm sorry.
you need to figure out a way of how to resolve what is not good practice in construction of getting that bottom, some material that's even better than boral along the bottom. About some, because it's sitting on the dirt. Does this have foundation?
Yeah, it does.
Does it really?
Brick foundation, yeah.
Thinking long term.
I mean, the boral is rated for ground contact.
Is there a foundation there that you could leave exposed? To get
The
it,
foundation's not exposed, no, but
But-
there is a brick foundation. In the front corner, you can see there's a couple.
Yeah.
cliffs.
You can see it there.
That, I think that's the infill. There's brick infill between the studs. It's a frame building, but it's
oh, wobble, okay,
got the brick infill.
or wattle, yeah.
So I think that's what, right, that's what.
It is old, if it's got wattle, it's old.
Yeah, it's old. Yeah, definitely it's a contributing building.
But wattle's not foundation, that's just infill.
Yeah, you
So-
can see the stud cavity there though.
Yeah.
There's a brick foundation.
And is there a plate in the bottom of that that's sitting on anything?
That's sitting on the foundation.
So the problem is the brick foundation only comes up a little bit above grade.
Yes. Yeah, so to put southern yellow pine back in that environment, it's gonna fail dramatically.
So how long do you think the consolidated restored wood siding will last?
Well, it's got more exposure on that west side. If it's old growth lumber, it's got a chance to last for a while. Which I think it is on the west side. I think it's old, it's historic siding. Because it would have natural rot resistance.
I guess we could take a poll here. Is there anybody in favor of what's being proposed as is? Putting Boral to the left of the door and back, consolidating existing to the right of the door and around. Anybody in favor of that?
Will the Boral match what's there? And I think the answer is no.
No, it will not exactly.
So it ought to be all the same on one side at least.
Yeah, so we'd be willing to reside that entire north elevation. With Boral.
I agree with you, it's the north elevation.
Now, back to devil's advocate, if we know that the ground contact condition is what's causing most of the problem. If we had a strip or two of Boral across the bottom to create a faux foundation to fix, and wood above to match existing, is that something that the commission would bond?
I think it's getting there, but I'm not sure.
Is that any worse than replacing that siding that's there with Boral?
I'm for replacing it with Boral. I mean, if you're gonna do it, but it's.
Rissa, your thoughts as the reservationist?
I know the Parks and Recs has always said that if it's a condition where the wood is just not gonna survive, they allow you to replace it with something.
Yeah.
That's gonna last.
Would they allow you to change architecturally, like to put some kind of base in there that's more?
I think that would be an option, but it is kind of changing the look because
Yeah, I
we're
agree.
making it just
Yeah.
a base.
Well, it looks like on the west elevation, the wood doesn't come all the way to the ground. But no, that is the west, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it does.
And the theory is that it's old growth wood, consolidates it, it'll last longer than new wood siding. But I suppose eventually somebody will look back saying the siding is now really shot, the whole thing has to be redone. And never mind what's going on with the insult brick side.
Do you ever do flashing at the bottom? Is there such a thing? You know, just to kind of break that and.
I think part of the problem is that usually want the wood like 8 inches above the ground, so the snow buildup.
Yeah.
Like it'll keep, flashing will keep the water out of the building, but it doesn't do much for the material itself.
I mean, this bottom course that we're gonna replace on this elevation, we could pre-treat that with like a Wood Life Classic or a preservative that would help. So it's got a fungicide in it also, that would help to maybe give it some longer life.
So you said you're for replacing the entire everything, just the entire side, or just from the door back? Trying to get to the consensus to get to an affirmative vote.
I guess I'm willing, if he's willing to like preserve the front portion and wood for as long as possible. That's great, and the rest of it goes to Boral just because you're just rescuing as much wood as you can. Knowing that eventually that wood is probably also going to get shot. And the whole thing will be eventually Boral
Or some new product.
or some new product type versus demolished.
Yep.
Yeah, because if it keeps rotting like that, eventually someone's just gonna come and say it's just gotta be demolished.
So that goes back to, as the applicant has proposed,
Yeah, I think I'm fine with just Boral on the north, Boral on the west, eventually Boral on the south, under the insole brick, and just keeping the Boral east, the west is the front elevation in wood.
okay,
So right now, the proposal is not to treat the south
Yes, so leave it as is.
with it, but the insule brick looks like the wood's exposed underneath it.
There's just a small section in the front, right there. Most of it's in good condition.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happens to that?
I don't know how they installed the insule brick. There's no way to get back in there. I'm not even sure how they did that. There's absolutely no room to work back there. So
Yeah.
What's the distance between the two?
I don't know. It's like a foot.
Okay.
It's
I
really,
bet you it got moved in there. I bet you that building was someplace else that got moved there.
so with all that conversation,
Yeah.
I think we're back to the original application with the potential, we'd like to amend the application to have the Boral extend to that front corner. Or do you want to keep it as is with the wood there?
we'd be amenable to either way you want to go with that.
Well, I think I would prefer the Boral just so it all looks the same. It's not gonna match otherwise.
Okay.
So we'd like to amend the application to have that entire north facade be Boral.
Yes, please.
Any other questions or concerns?
I think we need to make a statement why we're allowing this.
Sure.
And I think it's because the original construction of this building, wherever that may have been, is not best practices. And that our intent is hopefully modern material may mitigate that, but we can't guarantee it.
Try to save the structure as opposed to
Hard to say.
allowing everything to demolish.
Yeah.
Be demolishment by nature.
By nature, yeah. I think you gotta justify it.
Okay. I don't think there's anything else on any issues with the other items put on there as far as the sills and everything else. I don't think there is. Hearing none, is there a motion?
On item 07, GV 2307-025, 882 South Third Street, I moved to, as the application was amended, and that the west elevation is going to be restored and conserved. The north elevation and the east elevation are going to be replaced with Boral siding, and the south elevation is going to no change? No change, okay. The understanding that we're letting this happen is that the original construction is not best practice. And our intent is to save the building as possible with the use of modern materials as opposed to what would be a conservation material. Hope it'll last longer.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
We didn't second it, did
Oh,
Oh, sorry, is there a second?
we? Second.
There we go. Now, all those in favor?
aye.
Against? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. What was the next exercise? This,
Yeah.
item number 8, GV-23-07-026, 220, 240 East Kossuth. Once you're all settled, raise your right hand. So,
Do you want to stand up just in case?
all right, 2, 3, 4. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, please state your name for the record.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Cunningham. I'm an attorney for the applicant. And Pegler Brown Hillender, 65 East State Street, Columbus, Ohio.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Lambert. I'm a Shrumshock Architects, Columbus, Ohio, Albany, Ohio, actually. We're the architect for the Schmitz, and I am the applicant on the application.
Okay. And you, sir?
Kyle Schmidt, owner of Schmidt's Restaurant. Yeah, Mark Antonette's partner at Sands Decker, civil engineer.
Okay, great, thanks. Cool.
This project is for a variance recommendation. The variance recommendation, the proposed work description, is for the variance recommendation. It's broken up into a collection of different types of variances just for ease of review. For new variances, it's 3312.49, an area variance to reduce the required off-street parking spaces for the restaurant use from the 144 spaces required to 55 spaces being provided. And 3312.03D, an area variance to permit the 220 Cossett Street lot to provide parking for 240 Cossett Street, and the Fudge House lot provide supplemental parking for 240 East Cossett Street. There are variances to permit continuation of non-conforming existing conditions, and that's 3332.037 R2F permitted uses, a use variance to permit a restaurant use in R2F residential district, an R2F district. 3332.21 building setback, an area variance from the R2F zoning standards to reduce the building setback from 10 feet to 0 feet along East Coffee Street. 3312.27 parking setback, an area variance along the South 6th Street to reduce the parking setback for the R2F zoning standards to reduce the parking setback along South 6th Street from 10 feet to 0 feet. 3332.25 side yard, an area variance permit the sum of the width of the 2 required side yards in the R2F zoning district to add up to less than 20% of the lot width. 3332.26 minimum side yard width, an area variance permit a reduction in the side yard width from 5 feet to 0 feet in R2F zoning district. 3332.18D building lot coverage, an area variance to reduce the maximum building coverage from the required less than 50% of the lot area to less than 80% of the lot area in an R2F zoning district. 3321.05B2 general site development standards, an area variance to delete the requirement for a 30-foot clear vision triangle at the southwest corner of the site. 331221D1 parking lot screening, an area variance for the parking lots, permit a fence 6 foot tall and not require a 4 foot wide landscape buffer. 3312.21D1 parking lot screening, an area variance to reduce screening from a parking lot to right away from at least 4 feet in width and 3 feet in height to 0. And 3312.29A interior landscaping, an area variance to eliminate the requirement for interior parking lot trees. There are also new variances for proposed improvements to Smith's Sausage House at 240 East Coffee Street. It's 3321.05A2 vision clearance for driveways, an area variance from the vision clearance requirements to permit a 6-foot fence along South 6th Street to screen the rear of the property. And 3321.05B1 vision clearance at intersections of street and alleys, an area variance for the southeast corner of the site. There's also new variances for the existing conditions of the 220 Cossett Street parking lot. That's 3332.037 R2F permitted uses, a use variance from a parking lot use on a parcel abutting 220 Cossett Street in the R2F district. 3312.29D1 parking lot screening to grant an area variance for the screening of parking lots, to permit the fence 6 feet tall on the west side of the property and not require a 4 foot wide landscaping buffer. 3312.21D1 parking lot screening, an area variance to reduce screening from a parking lot to a right of way from at least 4 feet in width and 3 feet in height to 0. And 3312.29 parking spaces, an area variance to reduce the dimension of the southern parking space from not less than 9 feet by 18 feet to not less than 8 feet and to allow the southern parking space to encroach into the right of way adjacent of East Coffee Street. Staff analysis, the May business meeting, the commission requested clarification on what variances are needed for existing conditions and what variances are caused by the fence. And the applicant withdrew the application from the May hearing and reapplied for the July hearing. And not in your staff report, but this project came to be because of the 6-foot fence that was previously approved by the Durban Village Commission. The staff recommendation is that staff recommends the commission recommend the variances as submitted. The basis for the staff recommendation is 3116.3.13 standards for site improvements A, and Durban Village guidelines on zoning variances found on page 139.
Catch your breath.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
No, just a little bit of explanation of how we got here and why it appears to be a giant list of variances. Everyone knows Schmitz, it's a landmark in Durban Village. Really what happened in this was, Schmitz was doing some renovations, is using that word a little loosely, to make it their restaurant ADA compliant. So they were doing some changes to access points that created some restroom changes for handicap, which forced them to sort of push out the back to add some cooler back space. You may recall that was before you for a certificate of appropriateness. We do have a certificate of appropriateness before you today, which is identical to the one that was here last year. But what happened was Schmitz then, with their civil engineer and their architects, started with the staff reviews for the site plan to get all of this done. And we got loads of comments back. I started to get involved with the application, help them through that process. One of the things that happened in that process is in your last certificate of appropriateness, which Nicole referred to, there was a request from this commission to have the fence along 6th Street that's on the main restaurant site be 6 feet tall. That required a zoning variance. So they couldn't get a site plan approval for what was approved by this commission, your certificate of appropriateness, because it required a variance, which was going to have to go to BZA to get that fence height up where you had requested. Then when council started looking at that and they went back to all the historic things that had already been granted on that site, there had been an approval of a parking lot specifically attached to one of the council ordinances. And because there was a site plan on that, what staff asked of the applicant here and Schmitz to do was just give us an application that shows everything there. So instead of going back through all this stuff, we can have it all on one site plan. So that's what sort of triggered what you have. Almost every variance, except that is pointed out as a new variance, is an existing condition for that site, and they're not asking to change any of that. There was with part of the application for the certificate of appropriateness, they did include some photos of the site and some things. I think that Mike Lambert's going to talk to you a little bit about. We want to just be very clear about what the existing condition is for that north property fence. Existing conditions of the fence and some parking spaces that are adjacent to the property to the north. I think that Kyle submitted, and I have copies for you of an email. He met with the neighbor to the north about that fence and the existing conditions, and the neighbor is in support of retaining it as it is, where there are some parking spaces that are sort of adjacent to his property. And I can certainly give you that email as well. And Kyle is here to sort of talk about that, Kyle Schmidt, about those conditions. So really what we're here to do is not really change very much, just try to get memorialized what we do. You do see some parking, the parking for the Fudge House and across 6th Street were already approved in the past. So they're not really part of the site plan, but staff did ask for Schmitz to ask for a variance to be able to count it in their parking count where it's accessory to their site. So that's really what has sort of generated all of these variances. They are all meant to be shown on the site plan. I think that both Mark and Mike have been through that, the civil engineer and the architect and that Schmitz have been through site plan review. They've resubmitted, I think, to their about the third time now, just to make sure we're trying to catch everything that's on that site, because it's a challenge to make sure to identify it all. The site itself was a valid non-conforming existing restaurant use before the zoning code changed to make it residential. So there really wasn't anything necessarily approving restaurant use because it was already valid. Still probably remains valid as a non-conformity, but staff was just requesting that it come in to formally get everything down. There was one minor amendment, which Nicole included, I appreciate that, where we had submitted the application for the council variance and got the staff report back after we were required to file the application here. As part of the staff report from the city, we did get a recommendation of approval from zoning staff for all of the variances, for the planning division for all of the variances. Traffic did ask for a modification to reduce the number of parking spaces. We originally said 56. They wanted it reduced down to 55 and to realign Purdy Alley to include bicycle parking there in lieu of an adjustment to the size of a parking space, and to allow the parking, the bicycle racks will meet the code. So the variance is really only for vehicles. That was a minor change from what we originally submitted to you. And then, as I said, we just wanted to make it very clear about that north property line. It's kind of pointed out on the plans, and we asked for existing conditions. But as I said, Schmidt's met with the neighbor, and I think you may have already even approved where that property line is. It sounds like from the neighbor's email that that's true. So we want to make sure that that's clear. And I'm happy to answer questions, but really, unless you need me to go through every variance, I would like the architect to sort of talk to you about whatever that is, and then we're all here to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. That was very, very good and thorough. I think you've recaptured everything. Like Catherine said, the city just wanted us to memorialize everything that had already been granted in the past. So it was all in one place when they go to look at it in the future, because this has been done over a number of years, just piecemeal. As Catherine mentioned, this was all approved over a year ago. With COVID and the difficulties getting the contractor, getting through the city, et cetera, the process has lagged a little bit, and we missed our deadline, and our previous approval has expired, and so now we're re-asking for that, along with the two additional items that Catherine mentioned. Obviously, the first item, the city was we are relocating the handicap parking spaces. Right now, there is a bit of a slope along Purdy Alley, going from the corner going upward as you go north into Purdy Alley. The handicap parking spaces were at the low end, and they needed to be brought up north a little bit so that the cross slope and path going to the accessible entrance would meet the accessibility requirements. So that was the primary purpose of us changing that parking. There was one spot, it had been existing for as far as I know, forever, that was slightly into the right of way, and then the city asked us to eliminate that spot and add in the bicycle parking. So that was part of that process. And then, as Catherine mentioned, the existing conditions, we've asked that all the council approve all the existing screening conditions, et cetera, that we have. There is a fence along the north property line that abuts the adjacent neighbor's property. That neighbor had put an addition on their house several years ago. We've done a very nice job. It's a very attractive house. That portion of the fence, about 20 feet of it on the east side, at one point it did extend to within about 2 feet of the property line. That fence is in his front yard, and at some point I think he may have gone to the council and asked to remove it, just to make his front yard or his entrance more open. He's done a beautiful job of landscaping. I think there's some photos of that. And again, we're just memorializing that condition and acknowledging that this is an existing condition. We've continued to maintain, and we filed for the variance to maintain the 6-foot high fence along 6th Street. We felt that was a request specific by the German Village Commission, and we wanted to maintain that. Their only request, and I think we're in compliance with what they wanted is, number one is their code allows for a 30-inch high fence maximum. We are at 6 feet. They needed us to get a variance for that. The second concern that they had is they didn't want to obstruct the vision triangle. If you're exiting the site, which used to be, I forget what the name of that alley was, but I believe that alley has been vacated and it's now part of the parking lot. But through that entrance exit curb cut onto 6th, they just wanted for public safety to make sure that there was an adequate vision triangle there. So the fence still continues to where it was as far as what we originally submitted. I believe there's about 15 feet between the end of the fence and that corner. And then, of course, from the fence out, you have the sidewalk and the landscape area between the curbs. So there's a good amount of visibility there, and I don't see it as an issue. Otherwise, it really kind of sums up the request. I think everything else is covered, isn't it?
Unless there are questions. The picture of the fence that we're talking about was with the certificate of appropriateness.
Yeah, there's a document.
There it is.
Yeah.
And I also have it on flash drive, but like a current from, that's just an
If you go
example of
one.
the commission of what you wanted, and that's a picture of that
Top
house.
photo there, if you can zoom in a little bit, that is the current. I believe that's taken from Street View, and there's a few more shrubs that have grown up along the parking area. But again, that was a request by the homeowner there specifically, just to open up their main entrance, their front entrance.
Sure.
Yeah.
So is the intent to follow that fence design then on 6th, or because the one that is drawn posts, it's a post with fence panels in between it, and that fence has a top cap that runs.
I believe it's the same fence as that right there, which is what, if we zoom in on the picture, I believe that's what's actually on the north side now, very similar to it. That was the actual photo that was provided to us by the German Village Commission on our last submittal, and we detailed it.
On your drawing.
Yeah, we detailed that to match that condition specifically. Well, our documents here.
And I think that's what was approved last time.
Yeah, I just passed it actually. Page 17 of that submittal shows the example photo. Maybe the next page up, I believe.
Is this the correct image that you're looking for?
Yeah, if you go to the next page up,
Up
or I'm sorry, down, it should be page.
We're on page 10 right now.
Yeah, page 10. Sheet number is A1.2 if you have that sheet in the title block. I'm not sure what. No, if you go the other direction.
It's got a color picture up on the left
Color
side.
picture, does it not?
Yeah, that's too far. Oh, it's,
We have it on our submittal documents, I don't know. Oh, continue there.
yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Page 22 of the, yeah.
Yeah, page 22. So you can see we've included the photo that was submitted to us. Just to ensure that that was the fence that was getting built per the German Village Commission's request, and then we detailed it accordingly.
You there, Karen?
Yeah, I kind of wish that, but I mean, we didn't do it at the time. It bothers me that the dumpster gates are a total different design where it's just boards with, no trim or cap or anything. But I'm okay with it.
Let's say in 10 years' time, this dumpster fence is gonna be beat up.
And it'll be a new one.
And then for the commissions, just so you all see, if you go to page 6, That's what was, I guess, there originally and or proposed. And then page 7, looking at that parking to the left side of the screen, that's the parking change, basically that south handicap spot was hanging over the property line.
Correct.
Looking through the documentation, that's what they wanted to move. By shifting all that north, it makes that north spot be no longer usable, and that became bike parking.
Correct. And I believe there's parking for 7 bicycles per code. And it's all compliant, so the trade-off, we lost 1 vehicle space, but
The only comment I'll have is looking down the variance list, the very last bullet point, 3312.29 parking spaces. That's a variance to have the parking space extend into Casa, but that condition is now gone.
That's correct.
So that last bullet point, we can strike in front
That's
of
what I was trying, that's right. I think, I have a civil engineer, Mark, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And I thought so, I was trying to confirm that with him before, but. Can you show that site from 6th Street, from Google Earth or Google Maps? It's got it.
For the record, with all the variances that are coming through, only 4 are from new conditions. Everything else is existing, so.
Right, it looks like a lot, but.
And we pretty much accept all.
Surprised we hadn't approved all of these before.
things.
We're going
It's
to,
not conforming.
yeah, but we've been doing that, we've been cleaning them up over the last couple of years. So are we going to, reducing it to 55 or 54?
5.
55.
55.
Yeah, we originally asked for 56.
Yeah, that's okay, that's,
And we reduced the 56
Okay.
to 55, and we did get support of transportation for that.
okay. Right. On item OAGD 2307-026, 220-240 East Cotha Street, I move to recommend the requested variances.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstains? I have the motion passes. Thank you much.
thank you.
And do we need the certificate of appropriateness separately?
Staff takes care of that after this. Oh, wait, is there more?
I think there was a confusion on my part of preparing the agenda for this. I'm understanding now there might be application items that are, not recommended variances. They're the change in designs. Which, could you specify those change in designs?
There were not, I don't think. I will defer to Mike, but we did have to come back for a request for a certificate of appropriateness. We had 2 applications pending.
Right.
One was a recommendation on a councilmatic variance, which is kind of what the discussion circulated around. But then on the certificate of appropriateness, we basically just reapplied for it because it had expired.
Yes, so that
And
is,
staff then didn't have the authority because it had expired to just automatically renew.
so yes, sorry for the confusion.
So that's,
Staff
that's all it
can-
is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
staff can, issue the COA for the renewal of.
Oh, we can, because it
The
had already,
variances, we couldn't.
okay,
If
so,
there's no change in the design, then yes.
right, then we did not, right, no design.
There's no design changes, no. Nothing is changed in the design.
Yeah, I think so. When I talked to Nicole before, she said we had to file a separate certificate of appropriateness. And we said, we don't really want to change, but it is expired.
It's expired, and that's the whole reason why we're asking for a
So do you want a motion to, just for the record, to fire that one back up again?
I mean, staff can do process the renewal, but if you believe it's appropriate, we can.
Well, I'm,
Is it,
no,
is it in your processing right now, Nicole? Do you have it? Is
I
it
have
submitted?
I believe I have the application for the renewal.
We've
so-
submitted an application.
Yes, so I'll process that, and get it over to you, alongside
Just-
the, you'll get a COA for the recommendation, and you'll also get a COA for the renewal.
Agenda presently.
okay.
So that's how we would, since it's not on the agenda presently, it's not on our docket. It has been something that has been submitted and it is in our office processing, but that is something we can staff approve as HBO staff.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So since it's not on the agenda, I wouldn't recommend it at this time.
I just know that we've had ones that have expired that have been brought to the commission to.
Right.
Yes.
I can tell you, I reviewed this one and there are no changes that need to be reviewed by the commission.
Okay, well, the ones that expired had no changes either.
Right, that's what we were originally
Yeah, that's-
advised, so we filed both things.
Yeah.
We filed a certificate of appropriateness and attached the approved certificate of appropriateness to show we hadn't made any changes.
Yes, so
And then we were also here for the recommendation of variance.
It's expired just this year. I don't know in the past if you've reviewed ones that are expired more than 2 years.
It just expired.
January.
Yeah. So at this point, as HPO staff, we can approve renewals of certificates as long as there haven't been any design changes.
All right, good.
Great.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you for your time, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
I will submit a picture of the existing condition of that fence, just so it's memorialized for the record, for you on the north side.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And I would like to apologize for the confusion on that matter.
No worries.
We got through it.
And I think, did you receive from Kyle the support from the neighbor of that fence?
I did receive it, it was just received too late to enter it.
That's okay, fine. I mean, I can give it to you separately here if we want to introduce it. I'm differing hard copies.
I've got the digital file for it, so you talked about it, so I can reference it if
Perfect.
but I don't
Thank
think
you. Thank you all.
Thank you much. Well, they're clearing out here. Do we have an applicant for 332 East Sycamore? Still no? Okay, keep on moving forward. All right, moving on to item number 9, GV-23-07-027, 715 Mohawk Street. If you raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Steve Hurt with Urban Order Architecture.
Thank you very much.
And this is an exterior building alteration. The proposed work description is to install a new door and it's to remove the 2 doors in the west elevation of the frame addition and install a new Marvin aluminum clad sliding French door on the west elevation of the existing frame addition. The door to be 12 feet by 8 feet. In April 2020, the staff analysis that in April of 2023, the German Village Commission reviewed and approved exterior alterations to 715 Mohawk Street with GV-23-04-014A. The changes included replacing 2 deteriorated French doors in the rear addition with Marvin 3-light modern French doors, adding 2 new Marvin aluminum clad wood casement windows to the north elevation of the existing dormer, replacing the deteriorated dormer siding with new smooth cement board siding to match existing wood profiles, repairing exterior trim and siding to match existing profile, and replacing windows in the 1994 edition and windows with transoms on the first floor of the south elevation with new Marvin aluminum clad wood windows. Now the applicant is applying to change the French doors to a sliding French door. The addition was approved for construction in 1994 following a January 1994 COA. Staff have provided the COA for reference. There was no July business meeting and no preliminary feedback for the applicant. The staff recommendation is that staff recommends the commission offer feedback, continue the application to allow time for the applicant to amend their design to be more in line with German Village guidelines and city code. The basis for staff recommendation is 311611 standards for alteration 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, and 12, and German Village guidelines on doors from the 2005 amendments.
Else to add?
So we previously got approval to replace those French doors with doors like that. There is currently a fireplace in the middle and the owners decided to eliminate that fireplace, which is why we now want to do the 4-unit, more traditional sliding French door.
Questions, comments from the commission?
All the trims on the new opening will be the same,
Yeah.
match what the old ones were.
So the new opening is gonna be narrower than what's there. So it's
Yes,
gonna be
so we'll have to
widening.
fill in the siding. Yeah, and currently it's either redwood or smooth cedar. And we'll have enough to patch. And the existing doors, when we were here before, they're deteriorated.
So it's still on the addition, it's still space in the
Still, yeah.
backyard, nobody can see.
Correct.
Motion.
1 second. So I want to read the guidelines that staff mentioned guidelines, 2005 amendment.
I can read the quote directly if that's.
Sure, go ahead.
Specifically, door openings should not be filled in or altered to accommodate larger or smaller replacement doors. All doors would be fitted for each individual opening.
I would say that typically that falls under the preservation rehabilitation portion of the guidelines, as opposed to an addition, a newer addition guidelines.
Or new construction.
So I think the commission's look at this as of, if we were to look at this addition today, how do we approach it? Since it has not gained historic status, so. Didn't want to just blatantly go against what staff is saying without a reason. Okay, there's no other questions or comments. Is there a motion?
Go ahead.
I move on item 9, GV 23-07 027 715 Mohawk Street to approve as submitted.
Second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Let's have a motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 10, GV-23-07-028 165 East Deschler. Let the record show that the applicant is still sworn in. We have another applicant joining. If you please raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the truth?
I do.
We'll take your name for the record.
Will Lanet, Outdoor Space Design.
Thank you. Cool.
This is a conceptual application, including exterior building alteration, new construction, and landscaping. The proposed work description is an exterior building alteration to install new glass overhead doors to existing openings and add a second floor over the existing one-story frame addition. Details will include a flat roof under the existing eave with panel details and windows to match existing. There's new construction to construct an open structure with square columns and paneled exterior to match the details of the existing frame addition. The roof will be 8/12 with asphalt shingles from the approved list. The interior space will include a fire space, cabinets, and panels to match the exterior. And also to construct a new 24-foot by 32-foot frame carriage house with smooth cement board siding, decorative concrete block foundation, and asphalt shingle roof. Windows to be aluminum clad wood, overhead doors to be insulated steel, access doors to be smooth fiberglass. There's also landscaping in the front yard to construct a 3-foot tall wrought iron fence and gate with stone columns per plan. To construct a retaining wall along the existing drive and stone curb along the front. Note that the wall was previously approved by the German Village Commission. Add new plantings per plan and remove a stone patio. Landscaping in the rear yard includes the addition of stone patios and pathways to serve new carriage house and pavilion. The addition of a built-in grill area, fire pit, and dining area. Addition of a fountain and freestanding trellis per plan. Removal of gravel parking area and add lawn area in its place. Addition of poured concrete retaining walls along the alley per plan. Staff analysis is there was no July business meeting and there was no preliminary feedback for the applicant. The staff recommendation is the staff recommends the commission offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at a future GDC meeting. The basis for staff recommendation, noting that there is no action required, is 311611 standards for alteration 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, and 12. 311612 standards for new construction A, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, L, M, and N. 311613 standards for site improvements A and B. German Village guidelines for new building garages and outbuildings for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And that is it.
Anything else to add?
How do you want to talk about this? We were here a few years ago with the previous owner talking about putting the second floor on top of what was a porch that we enclosed, and I think that we got consensual approval for that, so that seems pretty straightforward. I don't know that I provided any documentation on that, but I know we were here before for that. And then we want to convert the existing garage into some usable space, either home office or gym or something. And then new construction is, you know, the sort of garden pavilion, outdoor space, and then the new carriage house. So we can talk about all of it at once, or we can break it down and sort of go through things. And then obviously the landscaping will be a separate thing that we'll talk about.
Try to guide through if we can. So let me start with the front landscaping. We've seen this before, correct? Has there been any changes from the front landscaping from then to now?
Yes, we're adding a fence to enclose the yard for the kids and the dog. We're demolishing an existing brick wall that's in the side yard. Noted on the plan, it's just left of the pavilion there.
Yeah, there's an existing brick wall that sort of cuts off the yard.
The hope was that they could have a lawn for the kids to run back and forth through there and be able to be out near the park and see the park.
So this requires, you don't have to rebuild the existing columns because the fence is not engaging the columns at the front lawn? Is that?
The fence will be on the corners of the fence. There'll be stone piers to match existing. There are two existing piers that flank each side of the front walkway stairs. They're made of sandstone to match the foundation of the house. The proposal would be to add stone column there, right? Those are the ones on the ends will be new. And then
The existing ones on either side of the wall aren't tall enough, so that's why the fence.
yeah, the
If
fence
it's a
curves.
high fence.
Right, yep.
Okay. I remember with this application before, we had a lot of conversation about that. What would the return of the wall back towards the building, or
Right.
to hit the building and all of those things, but it seems like that's all being intact, it's just that you're.
We have not moved that, yeah.
You're adding the height of the column.
I think this commission wanted to align the retaining wall with the foundation of the house, which we moved it down to align with that, and so that's reflected in this application. So.
Any more questions about the front landscaping? I think that was the easy part. Okay.
But we're gonna get drawings of that stuff though, right?
Yes.
Let's go ahead and jump to the garage and carriage house. So that's going to drive the rest of the rear yard conversations. You're keeping the garage, the existing garage doors. Those are being replaced, correct, on the alley side?
On the alley side, no, those are old carriage doors.
That's my sacred cow.
And we already, again, with the previous owner, we replaced the existing garage doors that currently face a gravel parking area. So they were old panel doors, just a flat panel door, and we put the carriage doors in. And now they want to have glass doors.
Those the only.
So those doors, forgive me, but I think they're 2 or 3 years old.
You're showing a new.
I've been working in this house for about 5 years.
Yeah. Same. You're showing a new casement window on the side of that existing garage.
There's an existing window on the side of the garage.
Yeah, there's the drawings you have proposed, you show new 4-light casement. Is that it's existing original window? Is that a newer window, older window? Fake window, louver? I think being is conceptual, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think just My comment there is if it's an original window, we want to treat it as such. If it's been a replacement, I think that opens the door for replacement.
There was a trellis over here and all of that, all of those openings were walled over. So we put a door back in there, and then I think that we got approval to put a new fixed 4-light window in. And now I can't remember if that happened or if it stayed boarded up.
If you had a previous approval, just notate that in the application, just so we have that reference.
Yeah, that would have been.
Many moons.
Yeah.
And then the new carriage house, comments from the commission on what's being proposed.
So one of the things that
Or pavilion.
this is a very large lot. So even with all of this new construction, we're still at 30% lot coverage.
It's gonna be my question, was lot coverage.
Figured somebody would ask that. And since that existing garage is not going to be usable, we wanted to put the doors on the back, which also gives us about 3.5 feet, so we can drop the whole carriage house into the embankment and use the existing concrete block as the exposed foundation for this new structure. And I put some photos of existing carriage houses that exist on, I think, Redbud Alley. So there are some larger structures there.
I believe there's also one just to the east of this property. There's a carriage house back there.
A really big brick one. Yeah, there's a picture of that in there someplace. Or I thought there was. But we just wanted to make a very simple structure. Yeah, so this is sort of a frame version of something like that.
And then you were proposing to reuse the retaining wall block for the foundation. So
That's the current proposal.
that existing garage looks like it's really tough to get into
You can't get into it from the alley.
from the alley,
Yeah,
yeah.
those doors are fixed shut.
Oh, okay.
And it's there's 3.5 feet grade
Yeah.
difference in 2 feet. It's like,
How wide is Purdy? 20 foot? Or not Purdy, Redwood. Right.
Previous.
That could be part of the true application. It's just putting something that close to the alley. A lot of times you have a turn radius issue.
17.8 feet.
Okay.
So
Is the placement of your
So we're
carriage house going to be sufficient? Typically, when they come to the commission, what drives it, people want a double door, and that usually is driven by the width of the alley is not large enough to turn. When building a new structure, the placement of the garage determines how much space you have. So if it's too close to the alley to make that turn in there, that's really an architectural decision causing that.
Right.
You could cite that further back to get the turn radiuses in. I think in this case, your footprint of the building is what's determining having a double wide and a single versus 3 singles or something else in that nature.
Yeah, so we were proposing 3 feet back, which this just gives us 20 feet of maneuverability, 21 feet. So are you recommending that we push that back? Or is there a concern about the double door?
So double door will be a concern, because typically double doors are a thing of last resort usually. But that's up for the commission to discuss and decide. But if saying that you only have 20 feet of turning radius causing the double door condition, I would challenge that 20-foot condition is being caused by the placement of it.
You're just similar right next door.
Any comments about carriage house I proposed?
Appears to be an ancillary dwelling unit,
Yes.
so you're gonna require 4 cars for this property and you only got 3 parking spots, or?
The whole thing will be a variance just to allow the second dwelling unit on a single parcel.
Would the other?
I don't know the history of this lot, but it's big. There's a lot of side yard.
So you're asking forgiveness for a parking spot?
Yeah, we will be. They previously lived on Jaeger, and the auxiliary structure there was basically for the children's caretaker.
Would the other garage still be being maintained, count as a parking spot, whether use it as a garage or not?
If they use the driveway, that would.
Saying that if you claim that.
They're gonna convert the garage to something else, but they're still, if they're keeping the parking in front of the garage, that would count.
We have the driveway.
Yeah, that would count.
But the drive in the new plan, does it go all the way back? You're landscaping it, right? Or
Yeah, you want to address that?
Yes, we were hoping to regain that space for landscaping and a more lawn area. We decided also to add a fence for security reasons, as well as to kind of make that a little bit more private in the rear yard area. So the idea to take out the whole driveway, just it's kind of, the grades kind of go, it's almost like a valley, right? So we'd have to fill that in to make it not look underdone or underdesigned. So we felt like maybe we should just leave it and use it as parking.
would you easily can stack 2 cars in the drive at the east side, which would give you 5 cars, right, for this?
I think at this stage, you need 4.
Yeah. So I think they have it.
3 in the carriage house, 1
Yeah.
on the drive, gives you your 4. They meet the criteria.
Yeah, we'll probably get a recommendation from zoning staff on how to word that.
Yep.
Any issues with the design of the carriage house as being presented?
Just like to see how it compares to the other buildings on the
Streetscape.
height, twice and stuff.
Yeah, and consider placing it so that you don't have that double door. It's 3 singles.
I think having that thing set down is gonna help with the height. No other questions about the carriage house, rear landscaping and the pavilion?
Yeah, the pavilion is, again, just we're trying to make it very much secondary, but using some of the details of the addition on that with the panels.
My concern would be by using the details from the addition, it's making it more ornate than both the existing garage and the new carriage house.
Okay.
So to me, seems like it's fighting for prominence amongst the auxiliary structures. That's just me.
Probably should be.
Should be.
Yeah, it's a garden structure. The other ones are less formal.
Fair.
I'm also wondering if there's a way to somehow get a hip roof into the new carriage house so that it sort of matches all the other buildings. But I say-
That's about occupiable space, yeah. We could look at doing a clipped gable, do you think that helps?
It just looked like from the collection of buildings, like that's the odd man out. But I guess you do have a gable on the back of the house.
Yes. Yeah, the house has lots of different roof lines.
Basically has a wall. Your middle of the gable, the hip, and a flat.
And a flat.
And shed. That's right.
Any other comments about the pavilion? Like, so Ned, were you saying that it should be like?
Yeah, it's more formal function than what the garage even splashes as an office or gym or whatever. And certainly as a garage, as a carriage house, they would be ancillary, but I think the pavilion is more formal, more piece of the garden.
The only thing I heard about were the columns on the pavilion, where they came from. You know, because the addition, to me, the addition to the house with the, you know, the wood panels, it's almost kind of a little more craftsman or something, and then these columns they look a little more. And
Well,
it
they're
might just be
square.
the sketch. They are square? Okay. I couldn't tell for sure.
I assumed that they were.
Sure. Yes, square's better.
Yeah, in the enclosed addition,
Yeah.
used to have these funky brackets and all. It was a
It's on the
weird
existing
thing.
porches.
Yes, but not like the front brackets. They were like almost do-it-yourself brackets.
Any other questions or comments? Any feedback that you want?
So is the commission okay with the glass doors on the existing garage?
Basically,
Yeah.
And generally, okay with the two new structures and the addition?
Thinking concept, think the carriage house kind of reading very utilitarian from the park view looking back, almost as if it's a barn or something, which fits in with that grandeur of the house as opposed to more of the cottage style houses. So I don't think it's not pretending to be something it's not. I think that helps. I think to Ned's point, the point about the pavilion being more of a formal structure, I think that fits. And keeping it in the garage, I think is fantastic.
Great.
I think we probably just want to see an alleyscape,
Yeah.
Yep.
officially formalizing height.
Well, and the fence across the front, what all that looks like.
Typical full bracket.
Yeah.
I do have a sketch I brought that I showed the client and didn't make it. Would it be permanent that?
Sure.
Would be okay to pass it around. It's very loose, but I don't know if you had, if it, you know, would bring about a comment that we could address next time we see each other.
There's a bag, and there is, yeah. Right,
But
do
the
you
back
feel like
actually
a
would be
burnt
with
hair
that.
patch or?
You leave it with staff.
Okay.
Just, anybody had comments and need
I think
clarification.
the formality of it, I think the ornateness of the fence, having the ornate house.
Yeah.
Allows that to happen. Typically, we want more traditional, simple, but I think in this case you have the straight property for it.
We'll want to know the height and what the materials of the piers are and all that stuff. But, yeah, you know.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving ahead to the last item of the agenda, GV 23 07 557 South Grant. I need to repeat myself. Somebody, is it Ed? What's yours?
Oh, all right. Perhaps we're in for conceptual, right?
I believe you.
Do we?
You did with the last case.
All right. Keep me good. Raise your right hand. You promise to swear, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
State your names, please.
Patty Anderson. Christy Anderson.
Thank you very much.
This is for a lot split and landscaping and hardscaping. It's a conceptual application. The proposed work description is to split parcel number 010-049664 that sits between the homes at 563 and 557 South Grant Avenue. And then for landscaping, on the south half of the lot, replace the brick and glass with either a cobblestone or brick to widen the driveway and to retain fences, hostas, and the Japanese maple. Staff analysis is that the applicant contacted HPO staff about the proposed lot split and new driveway, and staff requested the applicant submit an application with photos of the area. At the time of the submission, the applicant did not supply site plans, so HPO staff recommended the application come as a conceptual application. The applicant agreed, but also submitted site plans. Staff recommendation is that staff recommends the commission offer design feedback that can be utilized by the applicant to further refine the proposal for review at a future GBC meeting. The basis for that staff recommendation, noting that no action is required, is 3116-13 Standard for Site Improvements A, German Village Guidelines for walks, sidewalks, driveways, patios, and parking lots 1, 2, and 3.
Anything to add or discuss or convince us?
I think we're just hoping to add, the drive for 563 South Grant. On the one drawing, I said it has on a curb cut there, but I think we realized that's probably not very realistic. So, just keeping the landscape, but where the grass is. And we were open to whatever you guys, if you wanted, allowed it, what your ideas for what the pavers brick would be.
So there is an existing curb cut?
There is for 557 South Grant, but not for 563 South Grant.
But you're willing to look at sharing the curb cut?
Yes.
And then pulling pavement over?
But we would love to have a curb cut for, what is yours? 563, but, I mean, that's originally what we were, but
Yeah.
I don't.
That's something we typically approve.
Mhm.
So the 563 does not have any off-street or?
No.
So this would be a chance to get off-street parking for
Yes.
that.
And the hopes would be that when her home would be sold, that there would be off-street parking for that home too. That's why the curb cut would be so beneficial.
Yeah. So right now you can get into, there is a drive beside the garage, correct?
Yes, it goes back, and it goes back onto like the west side of that parcel. Yeah.
And that's accessed from?
The 557. So we asked to split the parcels so that, because right now that parcel with the, in between the two homes, it's a separate parcel and taxed like all separately, but it's owned by 557 South Grant.
Okay.
Which is me.
So it's already taxed as two parcels?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you're looking to create a split to give some property and parking. So it really comes down to how you're willing to access that and how that will get configured to do that.
And there is a telephone pole right at the 557 entry of the driveway. I don't know if you can see it on there, but it's like, whoa, right there, right at the drive.
So I think, other than conceptual, I think you're gonna have some homework to do. You're gonna have to get, I think, a zoning review of this. That if you get the lot split, what would be the zoning variances that would be required?
Okay.
You are so close to the garage that I think you're gonna have building department take a look at whether some improvements will need to be made to the garage to be code compliant. Because by this lot split that you're doing, you're potentially throwing things out of compliance, et cetera. So you need to figure all that out. I don't think we would approve another or a wider curb cut. So you're gonna have to have an agreement for being able to drive across one property to get to the south property to park, which will be part of your deeds that'll have to be revised.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what else, Karen, Teresa?
And that may be as an access easement probably.
Yeah.
So it would get recorded.
Yeah.
So the access to this would be from Grant.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess the question then would be, how much landscape would be left?
Is it all the brick?
There's a Japanese maple in the front, which we would want to leave.
Mhm.
And then the white pine in the back is in the
Yeah.
four, we would want to stay as well. So, and I think we were,
And that gives you enough length to pull a car
Yeah.
over.
in one of the drawings, there's some measurements, there should be. But we have it with the boxwoods taken out. But leaving those landscaping in the back and the Japanese maple in the front.
So generally, the narrowest parking space is 8 foot is a compact car.
Okay.
A parking space striped and a parking lot is typically 9 feet wide.
Okay.
So I see a 6 foot dimension on there. Let's see. One of, is that 6?
That is 6, and then the boxwood, and then where the boxwoods are another 2, because that's, each square is 1 foot on that paper. Should be.
So that
10 foot.
That 4 foot of brick is,
That is 563's property.
okay,
Except it's kind of, I'm sorry, that 4 foot of brick is within that middle parcel
okay.
for 557, but it's a walkway for 563. I don't know how it's all, it was like that when I
Yeah.
bought to get up to the side door. If you can. That entrance to the left is for 563, and then it kind of, because there are stairs and. So it's how you can access around to the back of the home, 563.
So the question would be, you'd have to get dimensions to see if all of that can stay and you can still get, essentially it's a parallel parking space to the driveway.
Yeah. Would you want 9 feet or 8 feet?
9 would be typical. Because you have to think about, I mean, your car's not gonna exceed the 8, but you're gonna go car doors if you need space to walk around the car.
Yeah. Okay.
And the drive is only 9.6 now, and that's not a really wide driveway, so. I don't know that, the one drawing that you had that basically had a hedge kind of separating, I don't think you're gonna be able to do that. I think the parking pad would have to be contiguous to the drive.
Just trying to make it look
Yeah.
nice, but yeah, right,
You could do a, I mean, if you're planning to repave it, you could do something like what's called a Hollywood Drive, where you actually put some grass panels in the driveway if you're looking to add some green space.
Okay.
Yeah, the minimum driveway width in Columbus right now is 10 feet.
Okay.
Is that code requirement?
That was code,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you're making a new driveway, they may want it to be 10 feet or you have to get a variance.
Yeah, okay.
Gonna have to get a new survey, and I would strongly suggest getting some professional services to help you figure this out.
If we didn't split the lot, would it, if we just kept it as is and,
Re-landscaped it and
yeah, would that be okay too? Or
Yeah, unless you wanted, I think you maybe could do that and still get an access easement.
yeah,
You know, not actually split the ownership, but get an access easement on.
just an agreement, yeah.
Yeah. That may be the easier way to go, because then you wouldn't necessarily have to meet a 10-foot wide drive or those other conditions, I think. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just saying that might make it easier.
I think you're right. I'm not sure.
So what does the lot split make easier? What's the ability to sell that?
I know maybe I wasn't, no.
Probably a sale would probably be
Yeah.
easier.
But if you've got the easement in the deed and all that other stuff,
Yeah, if it's like in perpetuity,
Yeah.
then I think it would
And it's only
transfer.
taxed as its own parcel.
yeah, but the other hand, you're using property that somebody's
Pay taxes.
paid taxes on, so there have to be some kind of, that's between you two. I'm not gonna
Right.
go there.
For us, it's okay if it's when it gets sold.
Yeah,
That's
it's the sale issue that becomes a problem.
okay.
But I think an attorney could help you figure all that out.
Okay.
The full language for it.
Yeah.
Since the driveway at 557 is 9.6, is there any way that that can be wider?
Could be wider, possibly past the curb cut. I don't think we would approve a curb cut widening, but if you're repaving, once you're inside your property, you could widen it.
And we don't like to do curb cuts, extra curb cuts. Why?
Well, they were trying to preserve the pedestrian walkways and the historic curbing and the feel of a pedestrian village. So curb cuts are an interruption to that. So we try not to approve new ones.
Yeah, unless you have proof that there used to be a curb cut there.
I don't think so. I doubt it.
So moving forward, do you think that this is something that you would approve if we got more, you would want to see either an easement for the curb cut or?
I don't even know if it's an easement issue if it comes to us.
Yeah, I mean, I conceptually have no objections to what you're proposing, whether it's a curb cut or just re-landscaping to provide more parking for the house on the south, or
Yeah, I mean, you're actually providing landscape screened off-street parking, so that's a benefit.
Okay.
Staff would just recommend that you reach out to Building and Zoning Services alongside of your application if you resubmit.
And then we would resubmit, yes, for a actual review.
Yes, you'd submit the application again as a request for action.
Okay.
And that would get you on the agenda that comes next after you applied, depending on the deadline.
We'd also talk to staff about what kind of documents and drawings they would recommend
Okay,
as part of your application.
thank you. Is there a certain, would you like it to be a brick, continued the same pattern or something different?
Rick, the appropriate pattern is your choice.
Okay.
Am I good saying that, Karen?
I think so.
And if you want to intermix it with long grass pavers.
Yeah,
That's fine.
that's fine.
All right.
I think even if you got to it and, you know, perhaps if you wanted, they could put like a cobblestone edge that separates the,
Defines.
that defines the space. I think that would probably be okay.
Okay.
Or, you know, or with your brick, but you could do it with a cobblestone. That would definitely, just so it's kind of like the stripes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
So did you see the picture with the telephone pole at the entry?
Yeah,
Yeah. It's,
makes for a very right turn.
yeah. And to get in, yeah, it's really, I was very surprised. And then there's a bump in the,
But then other people would kill to have off-street parking.
I know, right? Yeah, I know. So anyway. Okay, great. Well, we'll do those things.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Talk to the 554 grant they got on their property recently.
Sure, I was not on the agenda, but we got an email saying my attendance is required, 307 East Columbus.
That must have. Sorry, making the mic was on. When did you receive the email?
June 28th.
So that was for the,
There's a continuation from the June 21st meeting, and then.
oh, yeah, just, the email, I apologize if the email wasn't clear, was that if you had to resubmit to be placed on this agenda.
I don't think it says resubmit, there's nothing to resubmit.
Are you here for you said 307?
Yeah,
That was continued at the June agenda, so that continuation letter was, you were required to be here if you resubmitted if you submitted new materials. It says in the letter to resubmit materials by, I think it was June 20.
but there's no new, so it's, there's no new materials. It's, I get a code violation from something the city approved. Then the work was completed, and then you guys said that there's a code violation, but there's not, because the city approved it.
Well, the city approved the permit, but it was not approved to be enclosed for the door and windows on the property from the German Village Commission. So at the time of the review, there was discussion about possibly opening up those openings again or to keep them closed, but I don't believe Nicole received confirmation on that from your behalf, if that was going to be considered. The commissioners, I believe, were in support of possibly restoring those openings for Columbus at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm speaking correctly, of course.
That was what I was.
Well, so the city approved of me doing the work, got this, every code, every permit was approved.
That was at Building and Zoning Services, though. We're a different department from that.
So what, this has happened before, rarely, but it has happened. So what the Historic Preservation Commission has to do is we review it based on the merits, based upon our guidelines.
Yeah.
And whether we would approve it or not. The city's supposed to send it to us, make sure that you have our COA.
Yeah.
Before the permit's given.
Yeah.
This just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So they say, go to the commission and see if the commission will approve retroactively. Our first pass at it states that we wouldn't approve this. This came to us as that it was done.
Yeah.
So typically what happens is we deny the first hearing of it, it's resubmitted to us on appeal under the case of hardship, which would be the situation of the city has approved it.
Yeah.
And then it would be on appeal, but that needs to be a separate application. If we never denied it in the first place, we can't rule it on appeal. That makes sense. That's the situation we're facing right now?
Yes.
Yes, because we did take a vote last time, right?
We took a vote to consider.
Yes, the vote was to continue the application.
To continue because the attendee was the contractor, I think.
Yeah.
So they were gonna go back and talk to you to see what you wanted to do, I think.
Yeah, he told me I had to come to essentially say that you guys are right to vote on it, because, yeah, if this is city. If the city made a mistake and it's not, I fault all of them.
So is it, it's not on our agenda now, but I don't think we can take action
No.
on it.
This,
Yeah, because it was published.
I say it's, but we'll have to know that this conversation occurred, but I don't think you can vote on it.
Yeah, we can't take action because it hasn't been put in the notice to the public, open meeting laws and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So.
The kind that staff approved, like,
No, unfortunately, we can't get staff for this time. It can be continued into the month of August. We just need the confirmation that you would like to continue with what has taken place, or if you wanted to adjust it to the conditions that.
all right, that's fine, thanks.
Okay, don't have the applicant for 332 Sycamore. We can, does the applicant wants to continue that if they didn't show up, or do they give any guidance?
I believe they'd like to be continued. Their email was a request for a different hearing time, which I'm gonna email back and let them know that we can't have a different hearing time. It's gonna be 4 p.m.
Yeah.
So if you'll continue, I'll let them know they can appear in August.
Sure.
Since something gets continued, doesn't it automatically appear on the next agenda?
They have to confirm or submit new materials based on the feedback from the.
Sometimes they just don't show up, it just drops off.
If they're continued for absence, we typically put them on automatically. But if they're continued for a reason and they're at the hearing, I put in the email that they need to submit new materials by a certain date.
Okay. Yeah. So they just never even respond to my email, even to say we don't have any new materials.
Sometimes they do, because in this case, they didn't
They
say
didn't.
anything.
Okay.
So item 332 East Sycamore Street, GB 2307-024, I move to continue.
Second.
Any question or motion? All those in favor? Aye. Against? Abstentions? Ayes have, it, motion passes. And that's the end of the agenda. No old business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
The question of the motion? Those in favor? Aye. Against? Ayes have it. It's the meeting.
Yeah, not only it, but that's a very interesting one too.
You ain't seen that yet.